What is going on? Welcome to this week's episode of the Fit and Healthy Sioux Falls Show. Can you even believe we're in the last episode of the year and we are diving in talking about how to head into the new year financially fit and healthy. And I've got an amazing guest with me, Tony. So let's dive in to today's episode. All right. Hey, Tony, what is going on? Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. You guys, I met Tony. How long have you been coming to FitBody now, Tony?
Since January of 2019.
19, right before COVID.
Yeah.
Right before the world changed.
The world did change.
Man, so that's how I met Tony when we were going at the Minnesota location, which was right on Minnesota. We obviously since then have moved our gym, and he's been an amazing client of the gym. But more recently, about, I don't even know, 3-4 months ago, you helped my wife and I. You are a mortgage lender.
Yep.
Who do you do mortgage with?
So I work for NEXA Mortgage,
Okay.
which is just an umbrella company that covers independent brokers.
Okay.
So even though there's like 2,000 lenders that work for NEXA, my partner Lori and I, we work out of Sioux Falls, and it's just the two of us that basically run our business together.
Cool. How long have you been doing that, Tony?
With Lori, I've been together since 2020.
Okay.
And we've been in different broker spots, and we were at a mortgage company before, which is a little bit different than a brokerage.
Okay.
But we've been together probably since like 2017. I took a year and tried the real estate gig.
Okay.
And then went back to mortgage and started working.
mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And right now, we all know rates are wild, right? Like it's scaring people.
It is. They definitely were at historic, almost amazingly lows in 2020 and 2021, and they've been coming up since, basically with no stop. They've just been heading up.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting year. People are hesitant to do anything. Mm-hmm. A lot of the free advice people out there on YouTube or anywhere else are saying, "Oh my gosh, don't do anything. The rates are high.
Yeah.
Wait. Don't touch anything with your finances."
Yeah.
But as you know, like everybody's been getting squeezed everywhere this year with inflation and groceries and gas and everything. So, I think it's a good time to sort of touch base with people and see if there's anything we can do to help them.
Awesome. So you guys, we're going to dive in and really talk on some ways that you can take the exact same money that you're making now with your exact same debt that you have now, and just talk about different ways where you could maybe restructure that a little bit, right?
Right. So there's different ways that mortgage lenders can help you.
Yeah.
One thing we offer just on the surface is what we call like a mortgage check-in, like a yearly mortgage check-in, because taxes sometimes increase.
Yeah.
Insurance companies this year have raised their rates with everybody else. And if your insurance is being paid through your escrow, you may not know that your insurance has increased, which will increase your monthly payment.
Yeah.
We can take a look just by getting a statement. We don't need any application. We don't need to pull your credit. All we got to do is take a look at your statement and just see, like, did you know your insurance is this?
Yeah.
And if there was an increase, maybe it's a good time to get a quote from somebody.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies are bundling. So you may end up saving money on your car and your home, which could free up some money for you.
Yeah. You know, the thing that I love about Tony, and really why we got to talking and why I was like, dude, let's get on the show, and as I mentioned kind of last episode, you guys, as we move into 2024, the Fit and Healthy podcast is going to be talking all things fit and healthy: finances, workouts, your fitness, your relationships, anything that does with, a healthy relationship, healthy finances, healthy fitness, all that stuff. But why I wanted to bring Tony on the show is, like I said, I've known him since 2019. We've had casual conversation since 2019 about mortgage, homes, all this different stuff. Of course, I knew what he did. Not ever once did I feel like I was being sold to, or that he even wanted to pressure me into even sitting down to take a look at what he did. And before the show, him and I were talking. And one of the things that we both love, obviously what I do with fitness and what he does with finance, is we want to help the end user almost to a fault, right? Like meaning we'll go out of our way to provide resources, assets, and knowledge that doesn't get us any ROI in the moment, that we just know, hey, when you put good out into the world, good comes back. And that's what I like about Tony. And so that's why I brought him on here, because he's going to talk with you about some things that you can do. Let's talk about, and I didn't write this down. Yeah. But I want to talk about this, which I don't know who qualifies for it, so I might even be speaking out of turn. Right. But what you helped us with is some weird 2-1 buy down thingy. Yeah. So can you give a little info on that? Because I never heard of it, and I was like, that's sweet.
Yeah. So with rates going higher, right, we had to get creative. We want to help people still. There's still a need. Families grow. Families contract, there's needs to buy, right? So helping people with programs that can help them buy now, but not maybe get hit with those high rates.
Right now.
So what we did is we did a 2-1 buy down with you, meaning that for the first year, your mortgage payment is based off of a rate that's 2 percentage points lower than the normal rate.
Than what we got locked in at.
Yep. Okay. And then the next year, you're going to be 1% lower than what you were locked in at. So you don't actually get to that higher rate until year 3. Yeah. So you're basically buying yourself time to let the market and the rates sort of come down. You get to buy the house now for the price that it is with a lower rate for the first 2 years. And that helped a lot of people be like, you know what? We need to move. Mm-hmm. We have needs. Our family's growing. But we're scared. We've gotten the advice that, uncle, brother-in-law, somebody said, oh, don't buy now. Rates are high. You don't want to do this. Yeah. But everybody, we've been trying to be creative to help people. Yeah. Right. We want to help you if it's the right time for your family. Yeah. Let's figure out a plan for you. Give you control.
Let's talk about that. Since you said that, we kind of talked about or wrote down that we'd like to talk about restructuring debt. Right. So let's hit on that. What does that mean, and how does that look? And whether that's buying a new house or not, what is restructuring debt? What does that mean?
So going back to when the rates were really low, right? It gave people a lot of freedom with their finances, right? Their mortgage payments came down. Almost everybody refinanced or bought a home, and their payment was low. Yeah, and that gave them a lot of freedom to take vacations, buy a new car, buy a boat, do something, right? Yep. So now we're a few years past that. Yeah. Rates are going up, especially on the variable rates. Credit cards are quite high right now. Yeah. And people are now feeling the pinch with inflation and their regular costs. Well, if you own a home, you have equity, you have appreciation in the home. Yeah. Right? Yes. But your payment is based on when you got that loan and the rates then. But you've got this other stack of debt, whether it be, your credit card, your car loans, your student loans, all that stuff. There is a way to take your same income and the same debts and just sort of reorganizing it, restructuring it. And people will say, well, you don't want to don't ever lose that 3% or that 2.75 or whatever. But if your payment in your mortgage were to go up $500, right? But all your other debts went down to zero. Yeah. How much money would you save? How much money would that free up per month? Yeah. That's money in your pocket. You can always reapply that to the principal. You can build back up your savings if you have someone going to college or you need to buy a car, something like that. It gives you back the control. It feels like right now, a lot of people are controlled by their debt. Yeah. Right. And the costs that go along with it, the cost to even go out to eat for a family or to go to the movies or buy groceries, right? Everybody's getting pinched. Yeah. We want to sort of reorganize that stuff. We want to take your same liabilities. We want to take your same income, but give you more control, give you more money in your pocket. Yeah.
Cool. Since you hit on that, I want to just give a quick story based on that, how Mel and I used really that principle to purchase our new home. So the house that we moved into, I want to say Mel and I bought the original house that we sold in 2016. We had a low rate. We ended up refinancing when everyone else did. Got an even lower rate. So our payment was stupid low. We hemmed and hawed for a while about making this change. We didn't have a lot of debt. Mel and I try to be pretty smart with our money, but we had a little bit, right? I own two gyms. She owns a preschool, and we've got bills, right? We've got 3 kids in life. But what we ended up doing was when we sold our house, we took the equity that we made or the income, the profit that we made, and we applied enough to our new home to obviously get us in a spot where we were comfortable with that payment. But then the lump sum that was left over, we took that, and any other little weird debts that we might have had, we paid them off. Right. And so now our house payment did go up. Our rate, it was painful to see our rate go from what it was to what it is now. But we used that money. We were able to put a good amount of money into our savings account and then get those other little ancillary debts paid off. So now we have a house payment. And the nice thing about that is, yes, it went up, but there's no other payments. And we went through some weird medical issues. I had a weird kidney issue. Mel went through some stuff. And next thing you know, we ended up paying $20,000 or having $20,000 of bills that we owed, even with health insurance. So we were able to take that money that we made from the house, get that completely wiped off. And the cool thing, another money saving tip, since we're talking about saving money, if you have hospital bills and you do something like this where you can get an influx of income, you can get a hold of the hospital, make a paid in full payment, and usually reduce what you owe to the hospital by 10, 15, 20%, and save money that way. So I just wanted to give that story of how what you just said worked in real time in our life.
And like I said, on the surface, there should be a big stop sign, right? Do not go from 3% to 7%. Right. But the thing is, what a lot of people, most people, they know, but they don't know is that in 2020 and 2021, or even long before that, home values increase at about an average of 3 to 5%. But for a couple years, we were in the double digits, 10 to 15% value going up. So you have a lot of equity in your home that's just there to be used. And if you stay with your current mortgage, you stay with that current rate, that money is there. But you cannot access it. Right? But you might have all this other debt over here. If you access that to pay off this column, your payment's going up. And that rate does look like, why am I doing this? Is this the smart thing to do? But at the end of the day, the money in your pocket will increase. Potentially. I mean, this program isn't for everybody, but it is available to a lot of people. And people have just been like, well, I've been told not to do anything. But this may be the time where it's going to give you more, like I said, back control of your finances. So you can decide what to do with your money.
And something that you mentioned before we started recording was people tend to, with their finances, kind of put it on autopilot, set it and forget it. You have these bills, you get paid, whether weekly, biweekly, monthly, whatever your pay structure is. And you then pay your bills. And
pay your bills.
Whatever's left over, if anything, and most of the time not
a much,
then you have to do what you can do with what's left over. But there's a different approach. And that's being proactive.
Being proactive and knowing that, having a conversation with me is free of charge. I mean, I don't even need to have an application. I don't need to have a credit pull. I can say, if you know what your bills are, just give them to me. And I can run some estimates.
I don't know how many times when I was kind of really thinking about, and I think I thought about moving with Mel for over a year. And so I don't know how many times. Tony always comes to our 8:15 session at our central location. So if you ever want to get a workout in with Tony, literally clockwork, Monday through Friday, dang near, I mean, this is pretty much clockwork every day. I mean, it's pretty rare that Tony misses.
I'm over 1,000 sessions. So
Let's go.
I don't miss workouts.
But there was many times where we would sit afterwards in our lobby and we would just talk. And I think I gave you more info than probably even necessary with what different things I was thinking and debts and bills and this. And he was just a wealth of knowledge. And not ever once was like, hey, let's make it happen. And then too, I was like, hey, Tony, my wife and I were looking at houses. We found this one. Let's actually have you kind of run real scenarios and not just theory scenarios.
Right.
And you did. And we'd actually end up purchasing that house. But then a couple months went on and we ended up making a deal happen. But not ever once did I feel where Tony's like, hey, are you going to make it happen? And I also never felt, because Tony knows I know a lot of other mortgage people. Tony knows a lot of other mortgage people.
I do.
I know a lot of other people that own gyms in town, that are trainers in town. Half of my team now works at other gyms in town because of the way that, I just spit everywhere. That's okay. Put it on the show. Because that's just the way that life works and people move on and whatnot, and that's okay. But not ever once did there ever be a point where there was any type of weird friction or tension between like, hey, you need to make this deal happen with me. And that's what I love about it. Let's dive into, we kind of hit on money in versus money out.
Yep.
You did say, though, that there was a way where maybe you are just totally against losing your rate, going to that higher rate.
All right.
But you want to keep your house, keep the rate. You said there's a couple options even there.
Yep.
Hit on those.
So there is also the option of home equity line of credit. Now, this is going to be considered a second mortgage. And it is a variable rate, so it's not going to be locked in. Those, the rates are a little bit higher than mortgage rates, but definitely less than credit card rates.
Okay.
So the idea with the line of credit is they set it up for you. You're going to get a certain amount, say 10, 15,000.
Yeah.
And you get to decide how you want to do that. You can reorganize your debt onto that. Mm-hmm. So instead of having one payment, which is just your mortgage, you would have your mortgage and then your line of credit payment.
Yeah.
And some people use those for emergencies, for savings. They just like to have them set up. They don't believe in credit cards, but they believe in a line of credit.
Yeah.
Those are good for emergency. And again, you're taking back control. You can decide how to consolidate if you want to use it. So that's another option as well.
Okay.
If you have,
so that'd be a second mortgage.
It'd be a second mortgage, but it's going to be better than if you have 3 or 4 credit cards that have higher balances, something like that could definitely help you.
I don't know how much your knowledge is on this, but I have the question because I was actually talking with, I with what I do for corporate, I coach a lot of our other Fit Body owners. Mm-hmm. And so we're talking, and so many businesses have SBA loans, right?
Yep.
And I was talking with an owner, and they said that they had an SBA loan that was on a variable rate.
Yeah.
So I want to hit on quick, and like I said, I don't know what your knowledge is on it, but the difference, because maybe our listeners don't even know, what's the difference between a variable rate and a fixed rate?
Oh, right. So fixed rates are once you sign that contract, once your rate is locked in.
Yeah.
While you have that particular loan, that rate cannot change.
Okay.
For whatever the term is. Right?
Are credit cards fixed?
No.
None of them.
No.
I mean,
maybe
a rare one.
I'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
But variable rates are based off the prime rate. So whenever you hear the Fed is raising rates, okay, the prime rate is what's determined by the Fed.
Okay.
And then everybody has their margin on top of that.
Okay.
And so as the Fed rate goes up, it pushes everything else up. So those variable rates will move up.
So I think I've seen too a lot of, so to recap that real quick, fixed rate means that whatever loan that you get is going to be at that rate for the entirety that you own the loan.
Correct.
Or that you carry the loan.
Yes.
Variable rate means that, hey, it might have been this % when you got it, but because of whatever happened in the world, it moved up. Right. How often do the variable rates come down?
Well, so
I mean, do they?
They do.
Okay.
But where we are now, we've come from basically since 2008 when there was the mortgage meltdown crisis. The Fed has kept rates pretty low. Yeah. Right. So they've been pretty consistent, pretty low.
Yeah.
And then when COVID happened, they went basically to almost
rock
zero.
Bottom, yeah.
So we went basically from I believe 0.5, right? So 0.5%, up to now I believe the Fed is 5.25 or 5.5.
Okay.
So think about that. 5 percentage points basically in the last 10 years, it's basically just gone up.
Yep.
So it's we don't really notice, or we haven't noticed in the near past, any of these rates ever coming down because they've always been
since like
low.
08.
Right.
And
they've always been low.
Yeah. Most of our listeners or audience, we're not really even thinking before 08 with credit cards and mortgages and all that. So yeah. Okay. So they can move. So fixed stays the same. Variable moves up.
Yep.
That's just also good knowledge because, hey, people don't even, a lot of times people with credit cards, they don't even understand what's actually going on. When it comes to principal and then debt or interest, explain that a little bit because that was like a huge aha for me when I realized like, okay, I've got this loan. Let's just say it's $1,000 a month payment for whatever this loan is. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I realized like there's a certain amount goes to principal and a certain amount goes to interest.
Correct.
And when I dug into it, I was like, holy smokes, like literally only $100 of this $1,000 that I'm paying a month is going towards principal. So to explain the difference between principal payment and interest payment and what that all is.
So they can be different between credit card and say a mortgage.
Okay.
So mortgage interest is amortized over a 30-year.
Okay.
What that essentially means is it's not straight. It's not a straight breakdown of interest, right?
Yeah.
It means that at the beginning of the loan, you're paying more in interest than you are to principal.
Yeah.
But every payment that you make, your principal amount is going to go up every payment, right? Where credit cards, it's always a straight percentage, right?
Sure.
Of this much is interest and this much is principal.
Got it.
And the reason, so credit cards, when you apply, they say, hey, no interest for the first year, 18 months. They want to get you used to using the card because then when you make those payments for that first year, all of it's going to principal, right? I mean, you're noticing that your balance is going down. Hey, this credit card isn't a bad thing. They are literally training you to use that card.
Yeah.
So when the interest kicks in, and then you see your payment and you notice next month, wait a second, I paid $200. Why did my principal go down 75?
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because now they've got you trained to use it.
Yeah.
And now most of your payment is going to the interest.
Yeah. And a lot of people using credit cards, if there's a minimum payment that's due,
right?
You can get to a point where the minimum payment that is due, you pay that. And yes, that gets you by for another month. But now next month, the balance that you owe overall is actually higher than what your balance was. So, and maybe you didn't even buy anything else. So maybe your balance, let's say, is $10,000 on a credit card and you make the minimum payment due. Well, now next month, your balance is $10,100. Mm-hmm. Well, like, wait a minute, but I didn't purchase anything. I made the minimum payment, but I now owe more.
Right. Yeah, that is kind of the doom cycle of credit cards.
Yeah.
Is and that's what we're trying to help you take control back. That's when you know that you're out of control, but you are making your payments.
Yes.
You are doing what you need to do to preserve your credit score.
Yes.
Unfortunately, then the next step after that is if you get over over your limit.
Yep.
Penalties.
Yes.
That hurts your credit score. If you what, I got to decide what I'm going to buy groceries or make this payment. Again, then your credit score starts to get hit. Mm-hmm. As your credit score goes down, you have less ability to take that control back.
Yeah.
And that's why having the conversation now.
Yeah. So this is kind of where this all came from. And this is why I wanted to kind of hit on the credit card thing, because Tony and I were talking and we were talking about, hey, fit and healthy, financially matters. And obviously if you have more finances on your side, then you can have more finances even to go towards your health and fitness journey.
Right.
But so if you have, let's just say a house payment, and this is going to be a little hard to explain over podcast style, whether it's video or audio. And so in the description of this video, we are going to put a way that you can contact Tony. We'll put a phone number in there. Mm-hmm. And so you can contact Tony. And if this interests you and you want to know more, just say, text Tony the word podcast. So we'll put his number in there. All you have to do is text him the word podcast. That will be cue for Tony. They want to know more about the PDF, about the podcast, about what we're talking about with all this stuff.
Right.
But what we're talking about, let's say you have a house payment.
Yes.
$1,000.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to just write this down so that we know where we're at. So house payment, we got $1,000. Okay. Let's say we've got, and that's house, we've got car number 1. And that payment, let's just say it's $500. We're using easy numbers here. Car payment number 2, it's $500. Okay. Credit card number 1. And that's, let's just say $300 is what you normally pay. And credit card number 2 is $300 as well. So you add all that up, you're at $2,600 per month.
Yep.
Between your house, 2 vehicles, and 2 credit cards.
Correct.
That's not your gas, your groceries, anything else.
Nothing else.
Now, if all of a sudden, but my house is at a 2.5% interest rate, Tony, and I don't want to lose that.
Yeah, I know.
So what could we do though if all of a sudden, let's say, yes, we do something with that, whether it's a second mortgage or maybe we do move or that refinance like everyone did in the past, but now you refinance and you bump your rate up to, let's just say, a 7%.
Yep.
Whatever. But what that does is it moves your house payment to,
let's say, $1,700 on the high end.
$1,700 on the high end. Okay. And again, these are all theory numbers, hard to explain over a podcast. But so your house payment now went from $1,000 to $1,700, but you were able to take equity from the house that you have in there because you refinanced. Yes, you had a 7%. You pulled some of that money out of your house. Like Tony said, yeah, it's in there, but you can't use it unless you refinance, sell, or move.
Right.
And so you did that. You went from 2.5% to 7%. However, with where we're at in the economy, that just basically opened up, boom, $2,600 minus $1,700. You're going to use the profits to pay off car number 1, pay off car number 2, pay off credit card number 1, pay off credit card number 2, and that leaves you with $900 extra.
In your pocket.
In your pocket every single month.
Yeah.
Every single month.
Right. Every single month. And to be clear,
yes,
we are not allowed, or no one will let you refinance to 100% of the value.
Correct.
So you will always still have equity in your home. There's no program out there where I can say, you know what, we're going to take you to the absolute max of your home to get you all that money. They won't let you do that. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be equity still in the home.
And here's what I was watching a guy that I follow. His name is Chris Crone. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a big real estate dude, kind of like in the Grant Cardone world, I guess.
Okay.
But he was basically saying that right now, homes, they're on sale, right? Homes are on sale because the interest rate is so high that the people out there buying them, there's not a whole lot of people buying houses. So houses are selling for less than they would. Speaking of which, the house I bought, when it got put on the market into what I actually paid for it, $100,000 less is what we actually ended up paying from what they put it on the market at, just because interest rates started going up. And so people, like less and less buyers, were looking at that home.
Well, and another thing for that point too is this. In 2020 and 2021, right?
Yeah.
Rates were incredibly low.
Yeah.
There were so many people in the market.
Yeah.
You had to look at a house and put an offer in the first day.
Mm-hmm.
You had to offer over asking price, sometimes by 10 to 20% over the asking price to get that home. So you were paying more percentage wise than what the home was being actually offered for.
Yeah.
People were waiving inspections. People were not getting any credits from the sellers.
Yeah.
Like right now, there is more inventory than we've had in the past.
Yep.
Sellers are more apt to have a conversation.
Yeah.
When you come with an offer, you're going to be able to talk about closing costs. You're going to be able to talk about inspections. You're going to have time to look at a home and think about it before you have to run and put an offer in.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be the case.
No.
Because in 2020 and 2021, when those rates fell, again, values went up, pricing went up, costs went up, but your mortgage payment was lower, so everybody thought it was a better deal. Right now, if this scenario, you can pay off your debt, get that home that you need for your family or that you want, and maybe even save money in the end. And here's the best part. If we're at the peak of the rates right now, guess what? If they come down, we're happy to get you a lower rate and a better payment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But just like, again, surface level, everything says don't do a damn thing now, right?
Yeah.
But that's where talking with a professional and really finding out what programs you used a special program.
Yep.
Because it was available to you.
Yep.
There's programs out there. There's ways to organize your debt to really give you the control to really do whatever it is you want or need to do.
Yeah. And that's just it. The biggest thing that really Tony and I, when we wanted to sit down and shoot this episode and get across to you, is that you have options.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you need to do is reach out and discuss them. But a lot of people are afraid to do that too, because they think that if they reach out, now it's a done deal.
Or they think they want an application. They're going to pull my credit. I'm going to get called by all these different people wanting to sell me a mortgage or sell me something, right?
Yeah.
There's so many times that I have conversations that I'm just giving out. I'm happy to give advice.
Yes.
Like, hey, if you've got extra money, where should I apply it? I can maybe look at your liabilities and give you some advice.
Yeah.
But if you need to really dive deep and say, you know what, I feel like I'm pinched right now and I feel like it's going to get worse, help me out.
Yeah.
I'm happy to help. There's plenty of mortgage people out in this world that are happy to help.
Yeah.
But and you can have conversations without them getting an application or pulling your credit or doing stuff like that. But that will be the next step. Like, people will have to pull your credit to actually get the gears in motion.
Yeah.
But the first conversation should be free. It's always secure. Like, we are all governed by the Bank Secrecy Act. We can't tell anybody that you've had a conversation, not even your spouse.
Sure.
For some reason, if they're like, I saw this number in somebody's phone, who are you? I'm like, I can be like, I can tell you who I am, but I can't tell you who I talked to. But conversations should be free.
Yeah.
And like, I love, as much as a nerd I am, like, I love talking about mortgage because money is important. Health is important.
Yeah.
You don't get fit by going to the gym one time and eating one salad, right?
Yeah.
It's a journey. Your finances are always a journey.
Yeah.
People need vacations. They need new homes. They need to pay for college. They need cars. There's more than one way to just going to get another loan or another credit card or another whatever, right?
Yeah. And it's just about putting some focus and being smart with it, and really, I was talking with Tony before we shot as well. The two top New Year's resolutions that get made moving into a new year are fitness and finance. Those are the two things that people want to change in the new year. And so I was like, dude, this is the last episode of 2023. Let's give some financial tips, some financial advice. And so we're going to just kind of hit through some different tips here. Number one is look at your debts. Take, I don't know how many people I've talked to. Like, I don't even know my finances. I don't even know what I owe, where I owe. I just
pay the bills when they come in.
Everything's on auto pay, and I don't even know, right?
Yep.
So number one, look at your finances.
Yeah.
Take a look at them. Realize, I would write down too, like, what are your fixed expenses, which a fixed expense is going to be, the house, the cars, the credit cards, like those are fixed. They don't change. But then you have obviously your other living expenses, the food, the gas, the groceries, all that stuff. They go up and down, but work a budget out. Do you have any type of like budget planning tools?
Oh my goodness.
And maybe the answer is no. I don't.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can look on the internet. There's certain percentages, right? Where people say your house should be this percentage and your car should be this percentage and your savings and your, so, and that's kind of per individual.
Sure.
But I mean, depending on where you're at, like I said, some people are like, hey man, I'm just paying my bills and trying to stay afloat.
Yeah.
Right. And I know back in the day, my wife and I, we would do the whole thing where we thought we had a budget.
Yeah.
We didn't, right? We paid our bills and and then our credit cards got up to a certain point, and then when we got tax returns, we're like, oh, thank you, and we use that to what? To reset everything down to zero.
I would say that's like a Hail Mary approach, right?
It is, and there's so many people where that is like the minor little bailout that comes once a year.
Yeah.
But and every year we're like, we're going to build a savings, but we don't. We take that and we're just happy to reset everything back to zero, right?
Yep. And then go a year,
and then a year, and then
whack.
Yep, exactly. And then if something happens, we don't have that savings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So the biggest thing, you guys, is as we move into the new year, look at, what are the goals that you have and how can you restructure what you're doing to make your life more comfortable. At the end of the day, this is your life and we want you to live a happy life. We were talking about that too. And there's nothing more important than being happy with your life. Are there things that you may be paying for that you're paying for to, and this is a statement that I've heard before, and I just love it, to impress people that you don't care about,
right?
You buy things you don't need to impress people that you don't need to impress, but many people do it because of the world that we live in. And so take a look at that. And my biggest call to action for you would be check out the description of this video. We're going to have a number that you can get a hold of Tony. If you have any questions or want any help with anything that we discussed, text him the word podcast and he'll know exactly, what you're talking about. So if all of a sudden you start getting text Tony and the word comes in podcast, you're helping them with whatever we talked about on the show.
Absolutely. Happy to.
But the biggest thing is let's help you get your finances in order, so that you can live financially fit and healthy. And then, of course, you can then always reach out to me for any of your health and your fitness needs. But, Tony, you are a fitness dude. You've been working out for many, many years. Why don't you give our audience, since it is a fit and healthy fitness type show, and I'm putting him on the spot here, so we'll just see what comes up.
All right.
Give them one tip that has helped you in your health and fitness journey.
Well, for me, it's been consistency.
Yes.
And there's little mnemonic tricks or whatever that you can play on yourself or whatever. Yeah. Like people like say, the positive mindset, positive things. When I first started coming to the gym,
yes, every
day, everybody says they greet you when you come in and when you leave. They're like, hey, thanks for coming. Great workout. See you, whatever. I never said goodbye. I always said, see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I was always in my mindset that I'm going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to see them tomorrow. So every day when I left for the first year and a half, it was never goodbye. It was thank you. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that.
And I was like, cause I've already making a commitment that I'm coming tomorrow, whether I'm sore, whether my scheduling gets mixed up. Maybe it's not 8:15, maybe it's 4:30.
I love that because literally last episode, we talked about how the micro decisions matter. And that right there is a micro decision. You're making a micro commitment in your brain saying, see you tomorrow, that the brain is now wired to believe I'm going tomorrow.
I'm going tomorrow.
No matter what obstacles come in the way, I'm going tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I love that. I really like that. I think that is going to be a big tip for you watching this episode. Your words matter. Tony, thank you so much for being on the show. You guys, again, if you have any questions about your mortgage, about your finances, about how you can free up some monthly money, go ahead, look in the description of this video, find Tony's number, text him the word podcast. You don't have to come up with I don't even know what to ask. Literally just text him the word podcast and that will start the conversation. And from there, who knows where it'll go? Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe you will finally get financially fit and start living a life that you're happy with because you've got the money to do so.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, I take a look at things and say, I think you're doing well.
Yeah.
So that's a worst case is you're already doing a very good job and I can get you some confirmation on that.
Yeah.
But
That's literally the worst case scenario. If the worst case scenario, you get a pat on your back, happy day. Look down there, find Tony's number. Do me a couple favors though, if you would. We are working on growing this show, and it's going to get much, much bigger. This is the last time, if you're watching, that you're going to see a green background. We're switching things up. Total new website launch come January. Total new everything come January. So we're doing that. So do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share this show with a friend. And just know this, I believe in you. I know you have what it takes. Have an awesome day. Like, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Fit and Healthy Sioux Falls Show. Bye, guys. Peace.